and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today, we are switching it up with a special bonus episode. We're going to look at Netflix's recent 2023 film. It's the computer animated science fantasy adventure comedy Nimona, which is directed by Bruno and Quane. It stars the voices of Chloe Grace Moretz, Riz Ahmed, Eugene Young, and Francis Conroy. I'm Jesse. I'm writing here solely for this one. I sort of paused a bit there because I was like, that's Conroy, not Conroy. Thanks for joining me. As always, this is going to be filled with spoilers. So if you are keen on checking this film out, haven't seen it yet, give us a pause, come back a little bit later on, because this film is probably one that you might be interested in. It has a really good story about how it ended up on Netflix. We do start our show off with the Fast Flix, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one is about a shapeshifter who befriends a knight to clear his name. That's as simple as I could put it in a sentence. It's so much more than that, though. And we're probably going to talk a little bit about it as we look or discuss about how did this end up on Netflix? Why is it on Netflix? It's a good story. Trust me. I'm going to talk a little bit about this. Just across the world, this one, the only other sort of translation, it's literally called Nimona across the world, but in Chinese it's called Monster Girl Nimona, and I'm not sure I really like that title based on what the message of this film is trying to say, which we will talk about too. Had two taglines, this film. The taglines were "A new hero takes shape." Nice, like that one. If we're talking about a shapeshifter who's becoming a hero, and then the other tagline was "A little anti, a little hero." I like that too. Both good taglines, both work well. But let's talk about this film. It's based on a 2015 graphic novel of the same name by N.D. Stevenson. So if we go back to 2015, of June, the same year that it was released, 20th Century Fox Animation acquired the rights for this webcomic. Patrick Osborne was set to direct from a screenplay by Mark Hames. The film was going to be produced by Fox's former Blue Sky Studios, alongside Vertigo Entertainment, and in June of 2017, 20th Century Fox scheduled the film to be released on the 14th of February 2020. That's where things sort of became a little bit tricky, because in March of 2019, as most people would know, the Walt Disney Company acquired Fox. So then in May of that year of 2019, they delayed the film until March the 5th of 2021, and then in later in 2019 in November, it was delayed again until 2022. There was word in 2020 that the film would be released and it was going to be upheld, and Stevenson stated that it was still happening. He said this in a podcast in 2020. So then there was sort of a bit of a bump. Osborne departed the film in March of 2020, and then Bruno and Quane were brought on to work on this story after they directed Blue Sky's previous film Spies in Disguise in 2019. I think that starred the voice of Will Smith. Production would be done remotely because of COVID-19, which we've seen with a lot of films at this time. But then in Feb of 2021, Disney announced that it was shutting Blue Sky Studios down and that the film was cancelled, which was a little bit sad. So following the announcement, a lot of people involved in the film said it was a super sad day. Stevenson wished the best for everyone involved at Blue Sky Studios. They were a little bit heartbroken. An anonymous staffer from Blue Sky were interviewed by the Business Insider, and they sort of were complaining about the cancellation of the film, arguing that the film didn't look like anything else in the animated world at the time. And they said that they believed it would never be released or completed, which is a little bit sad. This film was going to use this sort of world-first Blue Sky conduit system, which allowed artists to find, track, version, and quality the control of their work. So some groundbreaking techniques used in the animation of this one as well. One staffer did state from Blue Sky that the film was on track to being finished, and a couple of others said, it was very close to being done, which is a little bit sad that, you've got a film that people have spent so much time on that just gets pulled because of an acquisition by another media conglomerate, I guess. In March of 2021, it was reported that Chloe Grace Moretz and Riz Ahmed were going to voice the characters, and they wanted other studios to try and pick it up, and that's I guess where we settled until March of 2022, where Disney's involvement has been sort of published online and around news sort of outlets over the last 12 months or so, that Disney's involvement in Florida's parental rights and education bill, and the lack of criticism from the CEO at the time, Bob Chapek. Staff members sort of stated that the film received a lot of pushback from Disney leadership because of the film's themes around LGBT ideas and a same-sex kiss as well, which is a little bit sad coming from Disney, I guess. In April of 2022, it was announced that Annapurna Pictures had picked up the rights for Nimona that year and would be releasing it on Netflix in 2023, which is an exciting thing. The voice cast that I mentioned before was retained. They added Eugene Lee Yang, and also we spoke about before too that Nick Bruno and Troy Quane were going to direct the film too. In December of 2022, it was also it came out that the film would serve as the first release of this Annapurna's animation division as well. Nimona was Blue Sky's most complex picture that they were working on. As I mentioned before, some groundbreaking new technology that they were working on. That sort of used a similar 2D style with the Peanuts movie in 2015 with Charlie Brown and Snoopy and those sorts of characters. And the design of this film was based on Evelyn Earle and Charlie Harper's styles, which had this combination of medieval and modern world, so that sort of mirrored the world in which we live, which is quite cool to see as well. I guess what else I've sort of spoken a bit. I think at the time of the initial cancellation, as I mentioned before, they thought it was probably about 75% complete through layouts and things like that. The animation, as it was picked up, was taken over and picked up in Montreal, and they sort of had to build a different pipeline from scratch for certain things, but they did have this blueprint that they were working on from Blue Sky. They translated it a lot across to this technology, which is good that they could actually use some of the original animation that they'd been working on. Animation did finish in October of 2022, and that's how we've got the film. So Eugene Lee Yang was the only actor to read for this character that he plays, Ambrosius Goldenloin, after the production designer suggested his name for the character, and then they modelled the character after him as well. On Netflix, since this has been released, it did have a premiere on the 14th of June 2023 at the Annecy International Animation Film Festival. Had a small theatrical release from the 23rd of June before hitting Netflix on the 30th of June 2023. From that, the 30th of June until the 2nd of July, Netflix put out some data around viewership for the first few days. So it's Nimona, the film, sat at number 9 on the Netflix global chart with 3.2 million views in those first few days, with approximately 5.5 million hours combined of watching. So not a bad feat for a little animation film, I guess. So far, obviously, this film hasn't been nominated for any awards, but I'm sure that it's probably going to get some Oscar buzz once the award season kicks in. I think probably the Spider-Man sequel is probably going to give it a little bit of competition, but they're just my personal thoughts. Let's talk about the critics and audiences. What are they saying about this film? If we look at Rotten Tomatoes, this sits at a 94% on 78 reviews. That is certified fresh, super positive. Same for the audience on Rotten Tomatoes. It sits at 91%. That's on more than 1,000 reviews. IMDb, again, very, very positive. Sits at a 7.7 out of 10 on about 12,000 ratings. Letterboxd, super high, a 4 out of 5 on a bit over 61,000 ratings. And if we look at Metacritic, again, positive, all in the green. The audiences have it at a 6.5 on 82 reviews, so that's positive in the green. And the critics have it at a 75 on 17 critic reviews, so also green on the green end too. For me, I actually had a Netflix percentage match for this film. So Netflix thought I'd have a 98% chance of matching and enjoying this film. Were Netflix right? What are my early thoughts? Yep, I love this film. I was enthralled by it. I thought it was super fast paced, it was vibrant, it was exciting, just had such great sentiment, and it's sort of hard not to get swept away by this film. I think it's an excellent film. So let's talk about some characters in this one. And obviously the film is called Nimona. As a character, between her and the other character, Ballister Boldheart, it's the film of these two characters. And Nimona, like this young kid, I guess, physically, but she's a shapeshifter who insists on being this sidekick to Ballister Boldheart. Her whole life, and it's a bit of a spoiler, but it's been a pretty long life. She's been rejected for being who she is, and she just wants to be accepted and not have to adapt to being something she isn't. And I really like that idea, which we'll probably talk a little bit more about in the themes and ideas. But if we talk about her sidekick boss, Ballister Boldheart, is this... I guess now in this film, if we talk about the film, he was a knight, now a former knight for this institution, and he was kicked out because he was accused of murdering the Queen. And I guess he's against the norm of what a knight should be, because he doesn't have the bloodline that all the other knights have, but he's got to where he is through hard work and having the heart of a hero. And unfortunately, this is sort of to the disgust of other knights in society. The other characters I sort of need to touch on would be Ambrosius Goldenloin. This is Ballister's love interest, and he unfortunately cuts off Ballister's arm in trying to protect this institution, and that's that battle of their relationship they have, I guess, about who to believe in and what to do. And he does seem to sort of be the favourite knight in society here, because he's a descendant of Glorith, who was the person who set up this kingdom to protect the kingdom from monsters. And I guess that name, Golden Loin, he's the golden child, he's the poster boy. And it was nice to see their relationship develop sort of in a small way throughout this film. The director, the real villain, I guess, the leader who is too scared to adapt, too scared to change or change her narrow-minded sort of old school ways of thinking, I guess, and is sort of a villain because she's willing to sacrifice innocent people to protect her outdated ideals. The only other character is Todd, who's sort of like this side villain who's ignorant, rude, bit of a bully, bit of a pussy really. He runs away from danger, and he's just sort of there to be annoying and be rude to Ballister, I guess. The directors sort of touched on this before, but there are two directors. We've got Nick Bruno, a veteran at Blue Sky Studios while it was around, worked on films like Rio, Epic, the Ice Age films, Horton Hears a Who, the Peanuts movie, and also directed Spies in Disguise, which I mentioned before too, with Troy Quane, the other director on this film. He also worked on a bunch of animation outside of Blue Sky as well, like Arthur's Christmas, Hotel Transylvania, the Nine, I think that was a stop motion film, so a couple other good films too. Let's talk about some scenes. What are some scenes that I enjoyed in this one? I think there's quite a bit. They're sort of little moments, and mainly Nimona's moments, I guess, because she's just got such a great personality that you want to love on the screen. And she does one of the things I enjoyed, her disturbing drawings and her images. I thought they were funny. I like the joke at a stage where she makes a joke about Ballister getting arrested, and then we just get this quick cut to him being locked up, which was funny in itself. But then she comes to help get him out, and they're sort of trying to escape, and he's doing like this stealth mode, really slow, quiet, and she's just full like knocking stuff over, and he's like, where are the guards? They're supposed to be here. And she's like, oh, they were like this when I got here. And then we just get this shot of all the guards knocked out. So I thought that was funny. Nimona's sort of first transition that she makes into this rhinoceros, and then she just keeps changing this battle into like a whale. And then as the whale drops through these like floors of a building, and then passes Todd in the shower and makes a comment about, oh, it must be cold. I laughed. I thought it was a nice little adult joke put in there as well. There's a moment where Nimona sort of convinced Ballister to become his sidekick, and she goes to shake his hand and then just turns into a shark. I thought that was funny. Nimona and Ballister, they're trying to sneak through this town, and he's telling her be quiet, and she's a cat, but she's making lots of noise. So that was funny. And then they need a distraction to get past, and he tells her please tone it down this time, and then she transforms into a lookalike of him and is way over the top going crazy. That was funny. There's a scene where Nimona is trying to find this squire who's got some information, and to freak him out, she transitions into this little boy who like screams and yells. So that was quite funny every time she sort of freaked him out. There's one tender moment I really liked where Ballister's bandaging Nimona's leg because an arrow's gone through her. I really thought that was sweet. Another transformation from Nimona, she turns into this cereal monster that just shoots cereal everywhere. That was funny. The director stabs Golden Loin. It's a transformed Golden Loin, but it took me by surprise. I wasn't expecting that. I thought that was a good little reveal. And finally, Nimona as this big beast at the end. She's ready to put herself through this sword, and Ballister apologizes, and she shrinks down to her normal, or like her size, the small size, and they hug. That was just super sweet. There's only one thing that I wasn't a big fan of in this, and there's just this little stage of a montage where Nimona and Ballister dance together as they upload this video to reveal the truth to the world. I don't know, I just didn't really like it compared to everything else. That's me being picky, I guess. Let's talk about some scenes, some themes and some ideas in this film. This says heaps in a really nice way. Obviously, we've got the idea about society's like institutional rejection of anything that's not normal. But who decides what's normal? How can we decide what's normal? Because normal is different to so many people. And that's that idea of questioning everything, questioning authority, overthrowing those with outdated ideas. And institutions, they're often political, and their basis is on legend or bloodline or tradition, more so than truth and what actually matters in our current society. There's that idea too of hard work. It should pay off. People should be given chances, because they try hard and they want to get to where they want to go, rather than just being gifted a position of responsibility. There's that idea of loyalty versus betrayal as well. I really like the way that they look at gender fluidity, not needing to define yourself by any term, being true to yourself, being who you are and who you want to be, and then being accepted, which leads into that idea of treating others the way you want to be treated too, because sometimes you can feel worse when you aren't being yourself, and you need that feeling of freedom, of being safe in who you are. And that leads to the idea of name calling at times. Obviously with Nimona, she did not like being called a monster, and the impact that this can have as well, because sometimes being treated unfairly does bring out the worst in us, and we don't need that at times if we treat people fairly. This was like quite in your face too, but that idea of constant fear of outsiders and what's beyond the walls, and this is often based on fear and rumors and non-truths, and I couldn't help but think of Donald Trump and his wall that he was going to build between Mexico in this symbolism in this too. And then finally too, that idea of being a hero. What does it mean to be a hero? You don't have to use weapons and violence to be a hero. You can do it in other ways. So such good stuff to take out of this one. And what else? I guess the other thing I took out of this one, like the colors in this, they're so vibrant, and from that moment that Nimona was on the screen, this film picked up 1,000 times. She was such a lovable character. I just really liked that character. Questions, ponderings, thoughts, ideas. Just one little pondering, like, does Nimona, we often hear that, not everyone gets a happy ending. Like, did she have a happy ending? Because, this is a spoiler, but at the end, she sacrifices herself for the better of the town, and she does become a hero. But the final shot, we do hear her voice. Don't actually get to see her, but it sort of leaves that opening, I guess, for a sequel, if they wanted to go with a sequel, because I think she's still around, which is a nice thing. All right, let's wrap this up. Give the film rating out of 5. For me, it's great to see a film that I guess it follows that general conventions of a narrative, but it still felt so fresh through the characters, through the design, through the soundtrack, and what it had to say as well. I think this is a must watch. This is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Really, really good film, worth watching. We got socials, we got Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Give us a follow, give us a like if you can. Question I'm putting up there for this one is, do you like pineapple on your pizza? This is in reference to Nimona definitely not liking pineapple on her pizza. Hawaiian pizza, I love it. I love pineapple on pizza. So I might be a weird one, because I think it definitely belongs on a pizza. We have a lot of episodes that have covered Netflix original films. If there's a Netflix original film that you've seen, we may have done an episode, because I think we're over 250 episodes, including bonus episodes. So check out our back catalogue if you can. We have a regular episode, as always, on a Wednesday. Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this one.